This is the Freud's Angels podcast.
I'm Vanessa, your intuitive counselor.
And I'm Grace, your spiritual guide. Our goal is to help you learn to blend your spiritual connection
And mental consciousness to give you clarity
and understanding to lead a life
of your choosing. Welcome.
We're glad you're here. Hey, angels. Welcome to the podcast. I have no idea what freaking episode we are on at all.
I was just looking at you like, oh my God, I don't even know where my notebook is. I didn't bring it here today because it's like 200 something. Yeah.
Yeah. Hold on. I'll find out.
Nutcracker. Here we are. Well, I mean, it's very appropriate. I feel like that we did this because as we were recording our weekly podcast or our weekly readings, we were kind of giggling, or not kind of giggling. We were like hysterical about, just kind of how unhinged we are and the things that are just flying out of our mouths. We're just letting ourselves, we're leaning into the fact that Mercury retrograde is messing with our communication, and we're just gonna like not be freaked out by it. We're just gonna kind of
lean into it
a little bit. Yeah, like just see where we're going, because we're probably not going to do terrible things here in this space. We usually do great things. So, yeah.
Yes, true story. We're on episode 212.
12 is my favorite number.
Yeah.
Okay, 212.
All right. We're going to, I don't even know how to describe this, Vanessa. You're the therapist, or counselor. So let me let you describe it. We're going to talk about layers, but we're going to go into detail.
Yeah. Well, it was something that Grace had said during one of our, like I said, we were recording the weekly astro forecast stuff, and we were kind of talking about how we have to revisit old wounds sometimes. And I was also sharing how, being in having a new therapist, which yes, therapists have therapists because we are also humans and we carry a lot. So it's very nice to be able to, have our own support. How having a new one means processing old trauma again, because you're telling stories sometimes, right? Like I'm trying to create context with her of, hey, here's what you're dealing with, right? Like here's the person and the trauma that you've got on your hands, right? But what happened was, or what continues to happen since I've been working with her, is that it's been a long time since I've really had to tell some of the basic stories, and things are coming up differently this time. And I was a little bit overwhelmed in my last session, like really overwhelmed, because I wasn't prepared for it. I was very prepared to just sit down and matter-of-factly be like, here's this next level of story that I have to tell you. And I was losing it. And I was like, what's happening right now? I thought we were all right, like with this situation. And it wasn't with, any kind of negative emotion. I was just very surprised by it, like, oh my God, like this is a lot that I'm holding right now. And I recognized that a lot of it is that, comprehension of children is really difficult when you're outside of children. I just really think that that's, for me at least, what was happening. So, to kind of not put the whole thing out there, but I was, processing some traumatic stuff from when I was, around 7 or 8. And I was just literally in my mind's eye looking at my daughter and being like, holy shit. Like I can't imagine her holding that, because I know where she's at emotionally with development and things like that, because I've been on the journey with her and I've been helping her and, teaching her and all that. And I'm like, you don't have those kind of skills yet, but like when you're a kid and there's stuff happening, you develop what you have to develop to survive. And I had also put out a solo podcast about trauma identity, and that was part of it, of just being like, dang, like some of the stuff that gets created because of our traumas, we carry it with us as personality sometimes too. And so there was like a whole swirling thing of me being like, oh, supposedly there are layers to these things. right? Like I've said it a lot of times, but like I'm discovering it in a different way for myself. And it's happening in like a lot of different parts of my life of being able to say, yes, you have been in this space before, but now you're going to process it a little bit differently. So I feel like when Grace was talking about it, I was like, ooh, that's gold right there. People need to hear that, and they need to hear how it actually operates. And that was where, the ease came in for me. I was like, girl, we could just tell stories and we will like nail this podcast. And we like are really good at telling stories. So let's just do that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
to give real life examples, because I think that that's what happened to me, is that I'm talking about layers and talking about layers. And then it happened to me and I was like, oh yeah, like there was that reminder of what it actually feels like, right? Because from the outside being the helper, I'm not feeling the feelings that they're feeling as
Right.
we revisit things. So as the helpee, when I get to feel that feeling all over again or differently, it's nice when you hear somebody describe that, so that when it happens, you're not like, oh shit, I failed at healing, because it's
Yeah.
not true.
Yeah. Especially when like things come back around, like they're having a same trigger or whatever, and a trigger comes up and they're like, I thought I worked through that. And it's like, yeah, you did work through it, but you worked through it in the energy that you could work through it at the time. The body's level of safety, the body's level of the ability to hold what will come up. Because and one of the I have been on a healing journey for it seems like forever, man, forever. And working in with IFS and trauma therapy and having some of these parts come up of things that I'm like, I have worked a lot to heal that. But I, as the individual, as the adult, as the container for all of those parts and feelings, I wasn't as open to be curious and compassionate until that moment. And so the things that, internally are internal, like your body is regulated by your nervous system. It does its job. It's supposed to do that. But when accessing that feeling feels unsafe, or that part feels unsafe because it doesn't feel like you have the, like, you won't receive it, or it doesn't feel safe enough or trust you enough to bring that huge level of emotion or feeling, or I think oftentimes we find that when we're in those spaces, and that's been trauma therapy for me, where things have come up and it isn't just the surface things that I expect it to be. It isn't just like the first half of the tree. It isn't just the leaves. It isn't just the branches. It's like down into the old growth of that tree, where it's concentrated, and then there's so much emotion that will translate to triggers, will translate to behaviors, and that will show up, that is sometimes overwhelming. Like sometimes I get overwhelmed because I'm like, oh my God, that lived inside of me, that existed inside of me, that little being experienced that.
Yeah.
And to experience it and to have the capacity for curiosity and compassion, which is like what the 5 C's I remember of IFS, it changes my relationship with myself, and it changes my relationship. And when we're talking about layers, and like I have people that will work with me frequently multiple times, and it feels like they come back to the same thing multiple times. And it's like, yeah, because you're evolving in your capacity. And if you want to get like energetic, your frequency of capacity wasn't big enough the first time around. You could only prune the tree. You couldn't do the deep work to find the root. And you had to do it in stages in order to digest it in a way that felt safe in that moment. Because if you were to open this wound up like this, like, 2 years ago, you would have probably had a mental breakdown. Like you would need much more than energy work in this case. Like,
Jesus, yes.
yes, it's too big, too fast, right? It's like, it's eating the entire buffet rather than just having appetizers. And so I think the biggest thing, like for me, I think the revisitation of the stuff with my family, especially my parents, has it occurred to me recently that the things I healed were true, and the things I healed were affecting me, but they were only like the crust of the whole thing. And because I don't know that I was strong enough to handle the depth of emotion and feeling and pain, and in a way that was supportive, that validating, compassionate, wanting to show up in love for that part. I'm really good at rejecting, and I'm really good at avoiding, and I'm really good at disassociating from those feelings. I think I should be professional at it now. But
do some classes on dissociation.
Yeah. Right? Want to learn from a master? I'm that master. But being present and being in the situation, the alchemy of the session and wherever I was, it was like, to think that little tiny being needed to feel this safe. Like it needed this in order to come out into the emotion or that feeling or that experience, and to see myself in a different light. And, and there's many factors and many ways we can get to that level of energy. But, when we revisit old wounds because they're showing up again, it's not that we've not done enough, or we didn't do it the first time, or that whatever reason we want to use, or to make ourselves feel like we haven't done enough. It's important to understand is that you're just going to that next layer. You're just digging underneath. I mean, we talk about the proverbial onion all the time, and how, it's bruised at this part, but the next couple layers, there's no bruise. But then you get to the, 7th and 8th layer internally, and there's another bruise, and it's like the same spot. And it's like, oh, wait, what about this?
Yeah.
Because our lived life is in layers, right? We don't go through life like in a straight line. There's layers upon layers of things that happen because, we experience the trauma or the chronic neglect, if that's a word. And it doesn't mean that chronic neglect is going to transfer at that one spot through the thing, because, and the next event could be something completely different. And so then that is kind of layered on top of it. And like we use the visual, the coats, like, I said, you put one coat on that, we used it for identity, but you can do it for the idea of like trauma. You put one coat on that's traumatic, and then, you go through life and something else hits up against it. And so you have another coat, and you continue to this point where you're so fucking hot that you're just like, and you're working to get to the down to the root of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's funny. And it's funny because like when you were talking before about healing it beforehand, my brain, it was just going to, because the place that I'm at, being like, I'm processing kind of the same age as my daughter is right now. And it's like the duality is freaking me out. And, like I have a lot of mom guilt about some of the things that maybe I have created in her life that have made life unsafe. It's traditional mom guilt and stuff. But there was something about you saying, like, if this came up before, and I thought I probably would have never had kids if I actually could have felt the depth of what I felt last week, because I would have been even more terrified that I didn't know what to do to not recreate it, right? Because it was so like life, you know what I mean? And you had said that before too, you just, when you're a kid and that's your life, that's just what you think life is. You don't have any context. So that's just what happens. And I didn't have, when I got pregnant with her, I mean, there was a lot going on or whatever, but like, if I had done or had touched this wound the way that it was touched, then I 1,000% probably would have done whatever I needed to do to make sure I didn't have kids, because I would have been terrified of doing the same thing, out of guilt, out of recognition, all of those things. And it was like, oh, well, that's why. And also no coincidence that you're doing it when she's kind of at that age, and you're in a place where you're recognizing that, and you're saying, I want to create structures around her right now that heal if there's anything to heal, but also that make her safe going forward. And it's like, yeah, this is in alignment. Even if I feel like I'm on fire, it is proper for it to be happening at this time.
Yeah. Because you've experienced the compassion for a being that is of that age. It's not, like you said, it's not coincidental that it's happening in that way, because that's just I mean, that's the way life works. That's the way energy works. And it's not, and before some of you guys come in and say, oh yeah, but it's not up to your daughter to heal. She's not doing the healing. She's just the
Yeah.
catalyst.
Mhm.
She's the catalyst. Children are catalysts for our
Mhm.
healing,
Yeah,
for
absolutely.
what we do internally. They show us, they reflect to us the things that we're like, oh, okay, I don't like that. I need to do some healing around that. It's
Yeah.
not that they're doing it, they're just the catalyst
Yeah,
for
it's
us
a
to be.
gift. I mean, I've said it so many times, like without her, there are a lot of things I wouldn't have done for myself, but I was able to do it because I wanted to do it for her. And that's like you're
Yeah.
saying, that mirror of like she's the most incredible catalyst of my life, but I don't hold her accountable for anything that has to do
Right.
with my healing. That's not, I mean, as a matter of fact, we were joking in the pregame about, a relationship that I cut off, like a friendship that I cut off about a year ago because she was affected by it. Because I was like, you know what's not going to happen? This looking commonplace to this child, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
would I have continued that?
Yeah.
Probably, because I had continued that pattern forever prior, but it was her presence that made me feel strong enough to say, you know what, I'm not going to do that. And she got to watch that instead of having to manage it, which is what would have happened if I wasn't in that space, right?
Which is,
Manage it, manage me, feel responsible, feel whatever, and so yeah,
yeah.
that's the thing.
Yeah. Because, I mean, we're both products of having to regulate our parents and to manage our parents and to be caretakers of our parents at very young ages. And, um, you know, it's hard.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's hard.
Yeah, and I don't ever want that. I don't put that on her. I
Yeah.
tell her all the time, you know, I'm upset, but it's not because of you. It's because I can't handle this, or I'm whatever. And like, I mean, even when it's like a noise that she's making,
Yeah.
it's not about the noise. It's mommy's overstimulated, right? Because it's just like,
Yeah.
I know what that's like, and I'm not trying to repeat it. And you repeat some things.
Well, that's evolution,
Yeah,
right?
what
Evolution.
happens? But
And to be honest, we can't always control what souls have agreed to do on this lifetime.
yeah, absolutely.
I mean, we're all working at it. We're all doing the best we can. But also when you're showing, your reaction to dysregulation, you're also giving her permission to react in ways that are maybe not nice or calm or whatever the rhetoric is people expect children to be. And it's not that. And it's funny because I have another friend who struggles with that. Like, I don't want her to feel responsible. She isn't responsible for healing me. And I'm like, well, you crying in front of her is not asking her to regulate. You're regulating yourself. You have to let her see that it's okay to cry. It's okay to be emotional, and just let her, like, just tell her, like, no, I'm just overwhelmed right now, and I'm just learning how to cope with it. And just because she witnesses it doesn't mean you're requiring for her to heal it.
Yeah, because that's how they learn. My God. I mean, I remember sitting in circle with somebody once, and we were talking about the concept of like, what would it be like if somebody had showed us this when we
Yeah.
were younger? You know what I mean? Like what was how to heal, right? Like just literally like how to heal and how to let yourself be messy and then heal it, and how to, be accountable, and how to handle shame, really, because you watch it happen and you watch it handled, right?
Yeah.
Like, and I feel very much like I feel that very deeply, because again, like, I'm not perfect, and I know that nobody is whatever we decide perfect is, which I guess is like regulated and never ever ever triggered. Impossible. But yeah, I feel personally responsible for teaching her how to handle emotions. And it's not going to be with a book. It never is. It's going to be with action. It's going to be with talking. It's going to be with imperfection and messiness, and it happens a lot. But it is very important, right? Like there is the difference of saying, you're making me feel whatever, because I feel like a lot of us of our generation felt very responsible for our parents' emotions because they were inaccurately identifying what was happening.
Yeah.
Right? Like, well, you know what, if you didn't blah blah blah, then this wouldn't happen. Like, I don't know. It feels like you as an adult could have done something a little different. I mean, I have to do it all the time where I'm like, I'm rushing her because we're late, and it is not her fault. It is my fault. I was not doing the time management, but I'm like putting it on her. Like, well, if you're not, and then I have to stop myself and go, it's not your fault. I was not paying attention to I'm asking you to rush because I didn't pay attention to the time. And so, yes, if you can rush, that'd be great. But you're not the problem here, right? Like, I'm asking you to be like my co-creator right now of being back on time, not the scapegoat for the reason why we're not on time. And there's a lot of times that has come in, that being loud or being annoying or just all the ways that I think some of us as little kids were taught to believe that we were the problem. And that's part of the healing that we have to give to them, is being able to tell them how many times they are not the problem.
Yeah.
So that they can learn that.
But it's also witnessing real emotion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because if you're constantly in an environment where like nobody has emotion and they go away when they feel emotion, I think sometimes that speaks to the child that you can't have this emotion in front of people, or that it's not wanted, or that they're not worthy of seeing it, or whatever conversation that you want to kids can make up because they're great with imagining. And I know when I was a kid, I made up a lot of like beliefs about myself and my ability to, what to do and how enough I was or how too much I was or whatever. And so,
yeah, crying is the thing. Like, I mean, we talked about it a few podcasts ago of me, just again, like we were just talking about with me in therapy, that deadpan, like, here's what's going on in my life. Here's the thing that happened. But if I tell somebody else's story, like, I'll lose my shit. Like, oh God, it's so horrible. Like, there's so much empathy there. And like, what's that? When we talked about that, I was like, that was a little bit interesting. Let me dive into that, because I feel bad for me too, I think, right? Like, I should. Like, I should be able to do that. And yeah, like it really, we didn't cry very often, because when she was a young baby, I cried a lot. And I didn't like that I cried a lot in front of her. And again, the catalyst thing, there was a time, and it was very close to when I left, that she hugged me and said, "Mommy, it's okay." And I was like, this is never happening again. You know what I mean? It just snapped me out of my emotion, because she felt like she needed to rescue me because I was being attacked. And I was like, nah, we're not doing this. No, thank you. But what that did to me was, then I was afraid to cry in front of her because I didn't want her to regulate me. Right. Because I had that experience, and that was now traumatic for me. And it took a while for me to be like, wait a minute, that's not the right thing to do. You're going to have to cry in front of her and teach her that it's okay to cry. And so, I've watched her cry in front of people, like in the last year, when she never would have. And it's safe for her to do that now. She wouldn't do it before, like, ever. And yeah, it's like, I can understand, because I almost did it. Even though what I do for a living, I almost did it, because I understand how our own personal trauma will make us forget what's important.
Yeah.
It's like, she needs to see me messy. So sometimes I cry. She sees me cry because I don't want to do the dishes. Like, she sees me cry because I'm like, I'm so tired, and I just like don't want to do anything, and I'm just curled up on the couch, and I'm like, I'll be all right in a minute, but I'm just gonna like get it out, and I remember that, she learns that I just got to get the cries out. I'm like, yeah, get the cries out, and then we'll be ready to do something after that, but let's do this now.
Yeah, totally.
Mm.
Ugh, yeah, I know.
Trying to think of some other layers, I don't want to talk about relationships again, but we know that I'm in just the perpetuals, what I came here to do. And the soul evolution, a big part of it is, relationship healing.
Well, I think too is that when we think about, healing. It's like we think about it's linear. There's a meme that goes around about success and about how everybody thinks it's point A to point B, but it's this really gnarly like drawing of lines and circles and, repeating back. And like, that's what healing is. That's what healing is. It's levels. And every time we enter into our new layer of healing, and we are always entering into new layers because our being evolves when we do healing. And so there's a frequency, there's a part of us that is more apt to be able to hold what we're experiencing without re-imprinting. I think that's what the energy and the healing does, right? We heal parts of it in order to be resilient of either coming in contact with it again, or at least the emotion of it again. And it's not to say we need to feel it or experience it again to heal it, but in the spaces, if that's what is warranted with this wounding, then we've done enough healing around it to be resilient in that space, so that that part that would re-imprint trauma or kind of connect us to it in a really kind of unhealthy, negative way. I think that the prior healings, like the pruning of the leaves and the branches of the tree, because I'm going to use this tree metaphor until I beat it to death. And
I use it all the time too. It's just a very
You
easy, beautiful one.
it's like you don't start at the middle of the trunk. You have to start at the top to alleviate the pressure and the weight on the tree to find where the first sign of the rot or the disease is in the tree. So when we are working with a wounding and we think the wounding, we have to come at it from the surface level, like, the first triggers that we experience. And then we go into another layer of it because it didn't heal. We still feel the effects of it. Okay, what does this layer have to tell me? What reaction is it? Oh, there's the abandonment conversation about this trauma. Okay, let's work on the abandonment of this trauma. We get to that next layer. Oh, there's the anger part, the sense of like injustice of it. Okay, let's work on the injustice part of this. And it's like the layers of it, we have to experience the one before because it gives us that resilience to heal it and to not be reintroduced and back into it. And I think sometimes too, friends, I can't tell you how many things in my life that I'm like, I thought we healed this. Why are we here again? Why are we here again? How many more times do I have to heal this? And clearly I keep getting the answer until it is finished. Yeah. And until I connect to it or approach it from a direction and from an energy that it feels held and secure and loved in a way that is like, I'm not here to get rid of you because you're trauma. I'm here to understand you so that I can offer you what you needed in that moment. And that's part of it, right? Is knowing, is having that reference, like you having compassion and love for this being, your child, gives you access to the feeling and the energy you need to help heal that part of you, what you're experiencing at that age. Like you have the capacity and the connection to energy and compassion. And it's not that you didn't before, but it's very specific to that situation, which is why you're able to access that memory or that emotion that's tied to that memory or that event that happened. And I mean, that's just from an energetic standpoint. I'm not saying there's so much more mentally and emotionally and psychologically, but from an energetic standpoint, I think it's almost like, you don't go to the finals in a hockey game. You do regular preseason, then you do regular season, and then you go to the finals. That's how you build up. And that's the same with like healing anything, is you're ready. It's like when you're in the finals, and it could be, the finals could last a couple years. You'd be very
Game 7 over and over and over again.
But yeah, so I think it's just about having patience, right? We had this week, we had the waiting card. And to surrender to the wonder and awe of things, the world, life, whatever. The fact that these feelings, emotions are reconnecting to your conscious mind at this moment is very much a beautiful thing. It's not negating the feelings and the reactions from experiencing it. I'm not saying we have to be, oh, this is wonderful. That's not what I'm saying. Yeah. What I'm saying is the process that you're going through, what you're experiencing is kind of miraculous, because not a lot of people get that to that point, and the fact that you are in your family and in your generation means a lot. It means a lot, especially for your path, your movement forward in whatever way that is.
Yeah, and I feel it, I mean, as much as it sucks and I feel like I'm on fire sometimes, and I'm just like, geez, like,
Yeah.
it's taking forever, because like, I discovered it 10 minutes ago and it's not gone. Like, when is it gonna be over?
Mm.
I think about what you had just said about how differently it feels when you're like at it's not like the end, but I feel like we like to call it the end because it's like the end of the severe trigger times, right? Like,
Yes.
like,
Yes.
wow, this is no longer going to set me on fire. That's what we're talking about. It's like, trauma doesn't ever go away. That would be very unsafe for us, or we would die if our brains didn't remember things that were dangerous. But, when I think about the areas of my life where I don't have issues anymore, and I'm like, oh yeah, like that. Those are ones where I just don't really have severe triggers in them because I've done enough work that the triggers when they come are not that big of a deal. Because one of the things that when I first started with this new therapist, she, we started to talk and she did the attachment style thing. And, she was, I think, maybe a little confident that that was going to make sense. And then when I busted out, like, I have zero problems with my friendships, she was like, what? That's interesting. I was like, I know. Like, obviously, because I do this too. I know how interesting that is because I don't have any of that. Like, I mean, if I think my friends are mad at me, I trust that they're going to tell me. I mean, I'm just like in a very beautiful, wonderful, trusting space with friends. I don't even really 100% remember a lot of that work that I did, but I know I did it because I can go back and I can think about traumatic times with friends and how, there were ruptures and there were jealousies and, all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, oh yeah, you did a really great job actually mitigating all of those triggers and learning what you feel and, all that kind of stuff. Okay, great. So that's a space. I feel like in my work, I've done so much work on being okay with being who I am and showing up in that space as who I am and like really settling into that being absolutely how it has to be in order for it to work. Whereas I was not like that when I first started out. I mean, I was terrified to be me in my counseling space because it felt wrong. It felt against everything that I was taught, and I was like, oh my gosh. And for a long time, I mean, every time a client would be done with their journey, I would take it personally and think I was doing something wrong, right? Like instead of being able to look at like, wow, we've come so far that they're ready to let go, which is the point. You're taking it personally, like you're failing. They don't like how you do things, blah, blah, like all that stuff. That was early on in the journey. And now I'm like, oh, this is great. This is exactly how it's supposed to be, and I mean, last week, this is what happened is, somebody was ready to go to, I'll let you know when it's time kind of thing. Cause I mean, I let people do whatever they want. You want to come weekly, you come weekly. If you want to come bi-weekly, you come bi-weekly. It's your choice. So that happened, which in the past, I would have freaked out about two things. One being like, oh God, I did something wrong. And two, money, right? Neither one happened. I sat, I cried a little because I was happy, because I was proud, because I, reminisced on the journey. And then about an hour later, I got a message from a referral for a new client. And I was like, that is how it works. Right? Like that's how it works. And I remember sitting there and saying, I've really done so much work because I just let this happen. Because I knew it was going to happen. I knew it was fine. There was no reason to freak out. It wasn't, you're not doing anything wrong. You're showing up, you're showing up and that's, and the good work is happening. We're good. Right. So, there's a couple areas of my life really that I can look at and be like, those things used to be on fire. They were, but they're not anymore. And so that gives me hope, right, for some of these other areas of my life that are a little bit more difficult, that like, hey, it just has more layers to it is all. And we're just going to keep doing the work and it's going to be okay. I mean, in my relationship life, I think I'm definitely the closest I've ever been to what it is that I feel like works. and what I feel like is fulfilling and wonderful for me. And that's only because I've done all the work that I've done and continue to do and feel the safest I've ever felt to continue doing in relationship. So, again, like we're looking around for evidences, we're learning to be in the awe and everything, like you were saying before. It's just difficult. I get it. We got to get out of the, this is on fire, to, kind of be like, is it all right though?
Yeah.
We're going to be all right. Yeah, we are. The fire is going to die down. It's going to be embers at some point.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I know it's deadpan. I'm just sitting with that. I'm just letting it fall. Like, I just feel that in this podcast, if you gain anything out of it, let it be permission to be in your layers. Let it be permission to have this sense of like, wow, I know I'm here back at this again, but it just means that I've evolved in order to handle this layer. I've evolved in order to be in healing with this emotion or this trauma or whatever you're working with. It's a sign of evolution. We want to be healed and we want to be done, but because you are here and because you have waited the process, it just means that you're going to evolve yet again. You're going to find more healing. And and something you said, I don't know whether it was this or the reading, or I don't know. Time is very liminal today. Yeah. But one of the things that you mentioned, hold on, I got to find the thought again. It went away. This is the kind of day it is, friends. It's that let us not record for 2 weeks. And I'm like, how do I do this? Yeah. Is this on? What do I do?
Oh yeah, we have an episode number. We have.
Yeah, I don't even know. What was I saying? What was I saying? I was saying something. Fuck, I hate it when I do that. Yeah, this is a very erratic podcast. But
hey, Mercury. Hey, we love you. We so love you. It's fine.
It'll come back if it wants to.
Yeah.
But
there's just a lot. There's a lot of
layers to the layers.
Yeah, there's a lot of layers to the layers, and there's a lot of compassion to have, and there's a lot of just understanding. You were talking about that we're here to do stuff, and these are our journeys, and we sign up to do specific things, sometimes. For those of you who believe in past lives, I mean, I do. I feel like a soul's evolutions are sometimes coming with karmic ties, or sometimes coming with karmic energy, and that's what we're healing. And so there's sometimes things are deeper than other things because they might come from other lifetimes as well.
Yeah.
But it doesn't make it it doesn't mean that we have to feel bad about ourselves, that we're continuing to be on this journey, and that we're having to circle back sometimes. Circle back is like corporate, but that's what's happening, right? Like sometimes I see the graphic where they that you see a person and it looks like they're walking in a circle, and they're like, oh God, why can't I get out of this pattern? And then they shift it to like a 3D and it's a spiral. Right. And it's like, like when you're walking a labyrinth, you feel like you're coming back around to the same spot, but you're like not actually in the same spot. That's what that kind of layered healing feels like. You're not actually in the same spot. It just feels maybe like you were talking about before in your body, or maybe we're using like very flat labels, right? Like, oh, I'm healing abandonment issues again. Like, I mean, that's pretty blanketed, right? Like we might be like it might be, feminine energy abandonment. It might be sister wound. It might be mother wound. It might be, friendship trauma, like it's not always exactly the same thing. Sometimes, listen, I've been known to find that I shoved things to the side and didn't work through it at all. That has happened where I'm like, oh, what? This again? And then you're like, well, you didn't really do anything with it the first time. So it's not again. It's like, you want to try again? Is more the question the universe is saying. Like, you ready this time? You're going to block it, or, we're going to like do it.
And, and okay, I think I remember what I was going to say, and I hope I can articulate it because my cat has been laying here and laying me. I swear to God, she's like a freaking Xanax sometimes in my energy because I'm like all of a sudden super chill, like I've eaten a gummy, and I
Oh,
have
I
not.
love
I
that.
do not have any gummies because it's illegal in this state. But anyways, um, okay, I keep talking and I keep forgetting it. And it's about our trauma, right? It's not that we erase it from our being. It's not that we erase it from our journey and our tapestry of life. It's that we change the energy that is related to the trauma. It doesn't negate our experience, but when we heal it, we're shifting the energy that is around it so that it's less of an identity and less of a trigger and more of a just, oh, this happened, but all the wisdom I've gained from healing this trauma. It's yeah, and sometimes we do release them. We do release the energy of it, and of course we want to, and in all of our energy fields and in our physical body and releasing the cellular memory, but it's a transformation, it's not an erasure of things. And so if you find yourself relating to someone or something to a trauma that you've had, but you'll find that, oh, I'm not triggered by that, but I can understand how they feel at a different level because I've done the healing work. And that's how it works. That's the whole point. Is like when we're on this earth, we walk through it, we have experiences in life, and then when we heal these experiences, we gain wisdom, we gain knowledge, we gain energy. And then when the people that are around us experience it, or maybe we meet somebody who's had a similar experience, it's our part to share the wisdom if they want it, it with consent, always with consent. Never give unsolicited advice, but like just sharing your journey with them and giving them hope. That's the whole, I think that's sometimes part of the whole human experience. The point of it is by helping each other and being assistive rather. And, and so when we think about the traumas and the triggers, when we are at that root, when we have found the disease in the tree and the rot in the tree, and we can begin building from a very healed and grounded state, it's not that it didn't exist. It's just that it's not a driving factor of our energy. It's more latent. It's just,
Not letting the show anymore.
it's on the shelf.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I experienced that. But the compassion and the love that you enter into those space for that version of you is the healing,
Mm-hmm.
because you're creating safety for that moment for you internally. So
It's funny that you say that because I was like, let's try and relate these two things. As you were talking, I was looking over at I have like a bookcase over there, and I have hanging on one of the corners like a ton of medals, like from hockey, from like triathlons I've done, like just a ton of just medals, whether it's sometimes from a competition and other times you just get one because you finished. And it was almost like you were talking about the things on the shelf, and I was kind of like, or like medals, you know what I mean? Of just being like, yeah, I mean, I did that. I went through that. That's the thing that happened. Right. Like, and I've got my medal. I've got my little reminder that that's the thing that happened, but it doesn't like the triathlon one sucked. The second one I did, I had a double ear infection and the waves were trying to kill us because we were doing it in the ocean. That was hard, but it was still worth it. And I love looking at that medal because it was hard and it was worth it.
yeah. Yep. Seeing the victory and the completion and the healing versus the fact that you had to do it. Yeah. So friends, whatever layers in your layers are existing, whatever you're finding in your journey, in your healing journey, if they're ones you visited before, just know that you're evolved and you're at a different place. And so another part of it comes to the surface to be offered into healing, into being cared for, and compassion and curiosity for it. And just know that every time that happens, you're getting closer and closer to that, the ball of the root of it, so that the healing isn't about being complete, but is impactful in a vastly different way. It isn't just surface level impact, it's deep rooted internal impact. You can tell the difference. So yeah, And if you need anything or need to help in any way, you know where to find us. I'm hoping that the next time we record, which is the 3rd, we have a special guest that week after. And so we will share hers. And it's funny because she's really familiar to something I have done. If you have not listened to the podcast that I was on with Balm for Your Soul, go check it out. It was fun. It was the quickest podcast I've ever recorded. It was like 35 minutes. And I'm just like,
wow.
she's like,
oh my God.
She's like, I do it for like a half an hour. And I'm just like, ooh, eek. Okay, I'll try to be like really, really, and you can tell because sometimes in my voice, I feel like I'm racing and I'm like, okay, because I'm trying to be succinct and I was trying to cram all the things I wanted to say in half an hour. It was interesting, but it was fun. So please go listen. It's about our nervous system and manifesting. It was really cool. There is an opportunity. There is a link in that show notes that has a meditation to work on your manifesting and helping regulate your nervous system when it comes to the idea of manifesting. It's super cool. So go check that out. I will find it and link it somewhere in our show notes. But I think it's a really cool podcast to go listen to because you get to see me like speed date. So speed podcast.
I love that. I was on a 5-minute one once about what makes you happy. And I was like, why did I sign up for this shit? I can't say anything in 5 minutes. Never mind what makes me happy. So I can.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I'm excited to hear it.
Yeah. Anyways, and it's short. So it's not like these ones that I can get to an hour plus. So, it won't take much. But have a wonderful week. We will see you guys soon and take care.
Yeah, love you. Thanks for listening.
We hope we gave you something to support your journey.
Check out our Facebook or Instagram page to connect with us.
Have a great week.